Please vote for this project. I, I'm, I'm delighted to be in Milan, I have to tell you, because I was a student in Como 25 years ago, and I stayed there for 3 months, and I was studying Tirani, the rationalists. I met Alberto Sartoris, and it was a very impressionable time. But I think more importantly in my own career was the introduction of the work of Aldo Rossi, the Seeing Galleratese for the first time. It was a turbulent summer 25 years ago. It was a year when Tiananmen Square happened, the Berlin Wall fell later. But when I was there in the summer, it was the time when two 17-year-olds won the French Open. Michael Cheng and Arantxa Sanchez, two unknown, won the French Open. And that set off this domino effect of cultural events that happened that has a lot of resonance today. So it was a time when my mind was very open, very impressionable, and seeing Aldo Rossi's work left a very important impact for me. And I think 25 years later, in retrospect, I could say if you have to situate our work within a historical context, I think I'll be very happy to find a very comfortable zone between the two Aldos, between Aldo van Eyck and Aldo Rossi. Aldo Rossi's friend, John Haydock, the late legendary dean of Cooper Union in New York, once made the remark that there are long-distance runners and short-distance runners in architecture. So short-distance runners are those that move very quickly, very fast, and burn out very quickly. And long-distance runners are those who have pace and endurance and traverses a much vast distance and landscape. I think that the title of the conference, Archmarathon, not only signifies this type of marathon-like presentation, but I think for me, it's also encouraging to see the selection of the projects that not only describe the time that we live in now, but I think a lot of them has the potential that become benchmarks or reference points in a longer run of history. So to start off my project, to describe the Vault House, I'd like to put it in context. And first of all is the context of my own office. This is a collage that we do. We're still very antiquated, we do collages. And oftentimes during the design of a project, we would distill the project down to one image. And oftentimes we have a found image to begin with. In this case, it was a film still from Jean-Luc Godard's Contempt with the famous Casa Malaparte. Why do we use historical images? Because I think David Lee Roth of Van Halen put it the best. He said, if someone asked him, what do you want to do? What do you want this album to achieve when you're finished? And he said, I want you to finish listening to the album and you put it back on the shelf and it is so hot that it will burn all the other albums. And I think every artist have this kind of immodest means of comparing oneself to history. The problem is that your work is never as good as history. So another context of this project I like to put it in is the context, the cultural context of Los Angeles. More than 40 years ago, a lot of you know Rainer Banham wrote the book Los Angeles, The Architecture of Four Ecologies, where he talked about the ecologies of the foothills, the ecologies of the plains, the ecology of the network of freeways, and the last is the ecology he named suburbia, which is the geography of the landscape, of the oceanfront landscape, where the land meets the ocean. 40 years, a lot has changed in Los Angeles, a lot more density, a lot more speed is happening. But what I find interesting is that what Banham described was not only pertaining to Los Angeles itself, but it began to be much more ubiquitous in all around the world as new developments began to happen. The site of the Vault House is in Oxnard. It's a city situated between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. But like many beachfront properties, the house is situated right on the beach. And it's a very dense lots. They're all very long and very narrow and packed together like sardines. Los Angeles was a city that was not founded on the coast. It's founded inland, and then it moved towards the coast. So the city suddenly stops. So it's a very abrupt a stop, and then a new typology begins to occur on the beach. It happens in Oxnard, in Santa Barbara, in Malibu, and all the way down to the South Bay. Very long and narrow lots. most people would put their master bedroom on the second floor and then put the living room on the ground floor, which are great for those rooms. But then the rest of the house is very dark and very undesirable to be with. And also, oftentimes you have to walk on a very narrow alleyway between two houses and enter the house quite unceremoniously. So this is a condition that has been happening all along throughout the last 40, 50 years of development. So it's not that much of a bohemian landscape anymore, but more the prices of the beachfront properties, of course, is going much higher. People are building to the maximum square footage. So the lot that was given to us was, like all the other lots, very long and narrow and packed together like sardines. Right next to us, there's no building yet, but we know that in the not too distant future, there will be a house there. Also lucky for us that our building actually sticks out more than 3 meters next to its neighbor. So the first thing we wanted to do is to actually have a huge courtyard in the house here to bring a lot of light in the darkest place of the house and also create a much more generous entryway when you come in as opposed to enter through this alley. The second thing we wanted to do is to bring the views and the air as deep into the house as possible. So we started with a strategy of giving every room that is required a shape, in this case, the shape of a barrel vault. And then this is an ideogram of a model. We pack all these barrel vaults together in a maximum buildable envelope. And as a result, we created this diagram of a house that is, for us, a deviation of the shotgun house typology, where one room follows the other room and follows the other room. So it's much more like rooms that don't overlap, but are facing the same direction. So in a way, for us, it's also a little urban model. The house is like packed like sardines, not unlike the neighborhood. So if you cut a series of cross sections through the house, all the rooms themselves have its own personality, have its own vault. And the goal for us is to bring the connection to the water and the beach all the way as deep into the house as possible. So more than like 3/4 of the house. So even when you're back deep into the house, not only do you have the view, a glimpse of the view of the ocean and the beach, but you also feel the air coming in because all the vaults are open on both sides, or most of them are open on both sides. The house doesn't have one specific axis. Each of the vaults and each of the room has a very direct, clear axis. But as a collective, they don't have an axis, but they have a certain directionality towards the beach. We studied a lot about each of the characteristics of the rooms. Has this kind of a finiteness of the room, but then it's connected to the water. And then when they come together, we try not to resolve it at all. We basically have glass doors that completely open, that could open to one vault, from one vault to another. So sometimes we have these happy accidents, like this one here, where the master bedroom meets the double height space like this. And then we have the unhappy accidents like this one here, where Gothic arches were formed. It's a very fragile landscape on the beach. So there's a requirement in the regulations that more than half of the house have to be lifted. So in case there's a tsunami that comes, the water can flow underneath the house. And the part of the houses that touches on the ground has to be built out of these breakout walls, which is much more easy to break out when the tsunami comes. So as a collective, all the houses, they do not form a dam, but actually could filter the water through. So we use the same vaulting system to elevate the part of the house that has to be elevated. And then it has a huge a double height living room. And then beyond the living room, you have the master bedroom above that faces the courtyard beyond, and then the dining and the kitchen area. In contrast to the beachfront facade, the street front facade is actually much more dense. And it's also quite anonymous. If you drive past, it actually fits very well within the Spanish colonial houses that are along the beach. It almost has this, for us, this type of Irving Gill, Adolf Loos quality. Every room just becomes a room. And we took the liberty to, this room is slightly bigger than this room, so we give them more height. So the cubic volume will be the same, but it also creates this kind of strange faciality of one eye bigger than the other. We also took the vault as a way to carve the house and make it a little bit wider here, here. So when the future house is there, the alley becomes much more generous before one turns up into the courtyard. So a much more porous beachfront facade versus a much more closed street facade. We also begin to deploy certain windows on the side of the house to bring light in. Although even there's no house on one side, we know in the future there will be. So the windows that are on the side are less for views, but more for supplementary light. The clear story windows, we decided to turn the vaults upside down. On one hand, we didn't want to create this groin vault situation that happens in basilicas. On the other hand, it's because the flat side actually opens up the vault a lot more and brings a lot more light into the space. So a very simple plan. This part of the house is elevated. You walk up into the courtyard and walk into the living spaces, or you can take a few steps up to the library, guest rooms, or walk up to the master suite that opens up to the courtyard and to the living room. And then a small roof terrace. As you can see, there's no house to the immediate south of it. And we begin to also use the openings on the side to open up the courtyard as well as this fake story that doesn't really exist. So from the side facade, you walk in, and then you walk up the stairs, very hermetic environment, and then you find yourself in this courtyard that on one side faces the gymnasium, and then with the guest rooms further back. And then on the other side, you face the open dining room, kitchen, and the subsequent double height space living room with a master bedroom above. I want to point out that this is not life size. This is a sculpture. And then looking back into the living room and then into the courtyard. This is an interesting piece. These are two glass fish sculptures by Frank Gehry did in the restaurant Rebecca's from 1986, and it was demolished, but certain relics of it was kept, and the owners kept that as a piece of sculpture. We just thought it was right to bring the fishes back to the beach. Because we are further out on one side, we have also this northern view of the beach. We also open up certain skylights from the deck above that brings light also into the covered area of the balcony. And here you see the moments of the upside down clear story windows that opens up the roof a lot more, that brings more light in from the side. And this is the view from the master bedroom, the happy accident. And then here you are almost 3/4 into the house. So you're in the library looking through the courtyard through the dining living room, and here you still see the beach. And when all the doors are open, you have this cross ventilation that comes through. These are the series of clear story lights that we've used, and sometimes skylights into the middle of the house. This is the entry to the guest rooms. I think I'd like to end my talk with some images from the artist, Jack Pearson, who came and photographed the house. We invited some friends. We worked a lot with artists, and sometimes they come and we're interested in their interests. In this case, Jack was very interested in the profile of the buildings, where he captured these moments of the profile of these vaults or these arches when it meets the sky. Although there are no real arches in our building, all the volumes are, all the shapes are volumetric. They're always vaults. And perhaps I could end with a certain position we have with history. I think whenever we show this project, there's always discussion about the meaning of the vault, the historical uses of the vault. And I think for us, we have tremendous debt to architecture history. And a important quote for us was one by Aldo van Eyck from 1966, where he said that he has heard that an architect should not be a prisoner of tradition in a time of change. But in his opinion, the architect should not be a prisoner at all, and in no time should the architect be a prisoner of change. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.